and they can come in here and camp with us and bring their kids and bring their bicycles and have a safe, enjoyable experience at Salamonie Lake, and that's my goal for all the DNR properties.
Welcome to In the Parks, an Indiana State Parks podcast. I'm Allison Martin, and I'm excited to tell the stories of these amazing places in the Hoosier State. I think our parks show off the best of Indiana, but there's so much more to them than you might expect. So it's time to go in depth to really know the stories and discover what makes each destination unique and valuable as part of Indiana. On In the Parks, you'll learn about the people, legends, and places that formed Indiana's parks in the past and who is writing the story now. Since it's officially summer, I'm excited to keep highlighting Indiana's reservoir properties so you can have the best lake life summer ever. And today we're going to Salamonie Lake. A few episodes back, I described Kegel's Mill Lake as having an introverted and extroverted side. But at Salamonie Lake, there are so many diverse activities going on, I think you'll need to take a Myers-Briggs personality test before visiting. I'm usually an ENTJ. At Salamonie, there are activities for every person and personality. Check out a few of them from park employees Teresa Rohde and Justin Emmons.
I think we have a very diverse group of users. We have horse camping and extensive trail network for being in northern Indiana. And we have the hunting set of folks, fishing, the lake users. So just lots of different groups. Some of the ones that are really expanding right now are the ones that are using our backpack sites out on the Blood Route Trail. That's a multi-use trail that's over 12 miles long. And our disc golf course. I think that's really growing in use too.
And those are two very different groups of people.
Yes.
People who are coming to play disc golf are not people who are prepping for the Appalachian Trail.
The people doing that are very different from our hunter user base. So yeah, it's a very dynamic system out here, and that's something we constantly balance, is that multiple use.
Teresa and Justin didn't even mention how the park appeals to bird lovers or mountain bikers. So to best organize this episode, we've got 9 personality types to learn about, and they'll all find something to love at Salamonie Lake. First, the basics. Salamonie Lake in northern Indiana is about 30 minutes east of Peru. It's the middle of 3 reservoir properties in the area that were created in the late 60s. Mississinawa, which we'll learn about in a few weeks, is to its left, while Roush Lake, which is now managed by Indiana Fish and Wildlife, is to its right. These upper Wabash Valley lakes flow into the Wabash River, which winds across the state, eventually forming the Indiana-Illinois state line. In the summer, the water level, called Summer Pool, puts Salamonie Lake over 2,600 acres. The maximum size would be over 9,000 acres of water, which has happened in 2015, a year many reservoir and lake properties have referenced because of the unprecedented flooding. The name Salamonie comes from a plant called bloodroot, which was used by the Miami people, or Miamia, as I believe they would have said it. The plant is still grown at the park, and park naturalist Teresa Rohde showed me the roots.
And we grow some right outside the front door so we can show people what it looks like. The root, you actually snap it and it's like blood red comes out of it, so it's pretty cool.
When she broke it, I was shocked to see how bright red it was. The bright red root turns into a yellow-orange color when spread on the skin, which is where we get the word Salamonie, which means yellow paint.
But then it's yellow paint because as soon as you put it on, it turns that orangey yellow color, and it's not red anymore. And the word is something more like Salamonie in the Miami language.
The Miami word sounds like Salamonie to our American ears. In addition to the lake's name, the park's longest trail is named for the plant. It's called the Blood Route Trail. Alright, so let's get into our personalities. First up, the academic. This is the person who spends time reading every plaque, interpretive sign, and historic pamphlet. You'll find lots to learn about Salamonie's past in the Nature Center, which is really incredible, by the way. It's super interactive and very kid-friendly. Plus, it has a large multi-purpose room that can be split in half. There are monthly programs for senior citizens and preschoolers, and school groups can use the space during field trips too. With a tile floor, they can do pond studies and nature programs even if they get a little messy. Okay, the academic personality. In addition to the Native American history, which we'll talk more about when we visit Mississinawa Lake, there's also recent history. Like Monroe Lake, before the dam was built and covered by water, the area was full of farms and small towns. The recreation areas around the lake are named after these communities: Mount Etna, Mount Hope, Dora, New Holland, and Monument City. Teresa told me the background of a few of the towns.
So we have the little New Holland. From what I understand, those were senior citizens primarily, and not as much hard feelings about selling their property. They were at a stage where they were going to be moving to
either in with family or assisted living type of things.
The farming might have been more than they were able to do at that point as well.
Right. Monument City was more of the active town, and again, just 24 homes, but active people that wanted to stay.
Well, and there was a school there, so that's of an active, involved community.
Yes. Dora was kind of in between the two, as far as population-wise. And they moved some of the things from the properties. So the Dora Church is still standing. So that's a neat piece of history. And some of the homes, there were a couple homes that were moved. One of the stories is that one family let their children ride in the house as it was being driven down the road. And it actually slipped on the truck it was on. But the kids were all okay.
Not every family had to move completely, but some left more reluctantly than others.
Some of the farms, they just had to sell half the farm that would have been impacted. And there was so much family farms, generation after generation that they had passed those farms down. So those feelings are very valid.
Several years ago, the water was low enough that Teresa was able to see the remains of the towns, foundations, and sometimes brick. There's nothing of physical value left now, so no need to purchase that metal detector. Instead, you'll discover a glimpse of the past, the faint boundaries and buildings that were once a small community. There's a video in the Nature Center about it.
We made this video when the lake was down, and all the reporters kept asking me for new interviews, so DNR made one.
We're at Salamonie Reservoir.
That just talked about it, so you can see the historic.
One of the 3 towns that was removed.
How
when the
low
reservoir
that
was
is.
constructed. Monument City. This town, at the time that the...
In the video, Teresa said there's something much more valuable she's discovered through studying these stories from the recent past.
And the real treasure, I believe, is in the memories of the people who used to live here.
You can also see pictures and explanations of how the dam was created. It's an engineer's dream. And also, every 3-year-olds. You can see the construction, machinery, and assembly required. The Nature Center also provides several visuals that will help people understand how the reservoirs are connected and how the water flows in the area. If you're into history, be sure to learn about the Civilian Conservation Corps who helped develop the nearby Salamonie State Forest. Or look for a small sign about Frederick Kindley in the marina parking lot. He was a Quaker who lived in New Holland in 1841, planted 100 fruit trees, and used his home as a stop on the Underground Railroad. Incredible history. Next up, the zoologist, the personality type that loves anything with fur or feathers. If this is you, you'll be thrilled to hear that Salamonie was part of reintroducing river otters to the state. After live trapping otters from another part of the country, they were brought to Indiana.
They took them to Purdue, had vet work done on them, teeth and pregnancy checks and everything. I was here at the time, so one of our biggest service area barns down here, we brought in sawdust and covered the floor, and then we had enclosures that had 2 or 3 otter in each one. So we had it dim and dark in there, and it was just fascinating to hear them crunching on the fish, the supper before the next day.
The park worked with local schools too.
And we had local school kids that had raised money towards the otter reintroduction. And so those schools that did that, then they had the opportunity to come out the day of the reintroduction and watch the otters being released.
One school in Marion sold beaded bracelets, collecting pennies for the Otter Project so the students could raise enough money. Students who raised over $500 were able to come watch the otters being released.
And so we had school kids, hundreds of them, lining one bank, and the property staff on the other opposite side of the river, opening these enclosures and letting the otter go.
An otter can travel 14 miles in the water a day, so they didn't expect them to stick around. But everyone was delighted with what happened immediately upon releasing the 25 otters.
They wanted to be clean. They're not used to being cooped up together in that enclosure. And so one of the first things many of them did was sit in the river and clean themselves, to the point that they almost seemed tame. And we had school children trying to reach them out on the logs that they were on. But it was just really historic and rewarding time. I still meet people that talk about, oh yeah, I was here and I came out and saw those river otter.
The Nature Center has great videos from that day. River otters move fast and don't stay in the area, so Teresa hasn't seen them that often since then, but she knows they're in the park.
And we do know we see evidence of them more often than we see them. We have a couple of photographers who spend so much time on the property that they've gotten some nice photos of them. Just a really neat dynamic and a special animal that we get to know is back here in our habitat.
The otters were tagged, but the staff would only know about their location if something bad happened to one, like if it died. In general, the otter population is doing very well in the state now, which is something to celebrate. The teacher who led the project was a long-term supporter of Salamonie. She passed away after a disease took her mobility, even her speech. In her honor, the teacher's family is installing a family bathroom at the park that includes an adult changing table. There are other animals at the park that aren't going to swim 14 miles downstream in a day, and they're found just behind the Nature Center in the raptor enclosure.
So the Raptor Center here at Salamonie was constructed by our Friends group. So they did grant raising and different fundraisers to help us build the facility.
Before he was even a member of the Friends volunteer group, it was the Raptor program that first got Steve Park's attention.
My name's Steve Park. I teach biology and AP Environmental Science at Huntington North High School. About 15 years ago, there was an ad in our local newspaper that said that you could come to the state property and you could meet one of their raptors. I've always been interested, obviously, in the environment and ways of giving back to our local community. And so it seemed like a natural fit that I would become a member.
The Friends group wanted an active, engaging nature center full of animals to capture kids and adult attention. And it worked for Steve. He's both part of the Friends of Upper Wabash Interpretive Services, which supports educational opportunities at Salamonie and Mississinewa, and he leads the Friends of Salamonie Lake group too.
That really draws kids in. There was some research that was done that talked about the difference between kids seeing something moving and kids seeing a static display. By human nature, we see things move. We're automatically drawn to that. And so we've really tried to focus on supporting that type of interpretation. But yeah, it's a beautiful facility. We're very fortunate to have it. It's something that we're, as a Friends group, really proud to support.
The Raptor Center is now home to a great horned owl, barred owl, screech owl, turkey vulture, red-tailed hawk, and an American kestrel, a little bird that can fly 85 miles per hour.
And so it houses 6 birds of prey that do have permanent injuries, so they can't be released back into the wild. Most of them did their rehab time at a licensed rehab in Fort Wayne area called Soaring Hawk. And so each of these birds go with us to educational locations, or we do programming on Salamonie and Mississinewa property with them and help people understand how important our aerial predators are to the habitat, how they help keep populations in balance and are very important to life and nature out here. Most of them are permanent residents because they have an eyesight issue. Without both eyes working, then they don't have that great depth perception that they need to successfully hunt. So these guys are all flighted except for our turkey vulture. Just a neat blend of a good place for them to live the rest of their life and a great ambassador for our wild populations.
The birds were really amazing to see in their enclosures, but then my day got even better when Teresa said,
I'd be happy to get one out for you to get a photo with.
Seriously? You don't have to, but if you want to, that'd be really cool.
Do you have a preference?
Whoever you want to see.
They're all my favorites.
I can see why.
Children, you can't say it.
Teresa ended up getting out the smallest owl, a brown screech owl. Get ready to geek out on owls.
We don't always know the whole story for each of our birds, but this one we do. When he was learning to fly, he got a little piece of a stick in his left eye, and so that's the scar tissue you can see on the front of his eye.
It's so beautiful, though.
One of the things that surprised people is this bird is 9 years old.
Oh, he's so little still.
He's middle-aged. 6 ounces top weight.
And I saw on the sign, very cool, that there's different colors for them as well.
Yeah, so you can get a gray phase like this one or the red phase like a red-haired person.
Oh, the back is really beautiful, too.
Isn't that amazing, all the awesome camouflage?
Yeah.
Think how wonderful that camouflage works on a tree bark. Yeah.
You'd never be able to spot it.
I love seeing those feathers around his beak that are adapted to work like whiskers.
Yes, that's what I was noticing, too. I was like, it almost is very, cat-like. And turn your head from behind too.
So they can move that 270 degrees They have 14 vertebrae in their neck that allow that.
Their eyes are such beautiful color too.
Yes.
They blink their eyelids separately.
Yes, and they have an extra eyelid called a nictating membrane, and it comes kind of across from the area of their beak out, and so that would protect their eyes. It's see-through. So if they're going down to catch prey, or it should protect them from sticks getting in their eyes. And occasionally you'll see them blink slow enough that you can see that one move across as well.
The Friends Group helps financially support training for the naturalists, and they also continue to maintain the Raptor Center, repair it, and provide food for the birds. Teresa has a great job. What a cool opportunity that not every interpretive naturalist gets. So
Exactly.
that's super exciting. I'm sure there's a lot that are like, oh man, Teresa's got it lucky over there.
I think I have it lucky a lot.
Finally, another fan favorite for my zoologist personality type is the bald eagle. And you can see those all the time at Salamonie. Let's meet Justin, the park expert on wildlife.
My name's Justin Emmons, and I'm the wildlife specialist. I've been in this role going on 10 years. Kind of in my role, the main function is to manage the natural resources to benefit wildlife populations, both for the wildlife themselves as well as our user base, which is a mix of hunters, bird watchers, photographers.
Part of Justin's job is to keep track of the bald eagles.
We have a huge and ever-expanding population of bald eagles, several nests on the property, and now they're to the point where you can see them all down the road on farm fields eating prey or scavenging.
The bald eagles at Salamonie are likely descendants of the ones from Monroe Lake.
They are thought to nest within 100 to 150 miles from where they fledged. Those nests have just like hopscotched north across the state.
Now there are several bald eagle nests in the area, including on the property itself. But even if an eagle's nest isn't visible, their activities are, especially in the winter. If you want to see the most bald eagles in one spot, Teresa and Justin recommend coming between December and mid-March.
The colder it is up north, the more we have that travel down here for that wintertime period. And so it's a powerful thing to get to do. It's just an opportunity we have here at the reservoirs because of the unique water flow that's always open.
While you can see the eagles in the summer, winter really is that ideal time.
Even though they're doing so well and we can all see them now, it's still just such a thrill every time you see one. Wintertime numbers of eagles here at the reservoirs are really high. The Corps of Engineers is always releasing water from the lakes, so we always have eagles that are here. Maybe they came from up north where it's more frozen. So we hold eagle watches and help people see that. One of the greatest memories that I have being an interpreter here is a 96-year-old woman wanted to see an eagle before the end of her life. And so her family contacted me during our Eagle Watch times and was asking if the Eagle Watch was appropriate for her mobility needs and things. And I says, let's just do our own day. And I met them and took them over to the dam here at Salamonie. She stood with her walker and looked through the spotting scope at about 15 eagles that day, and it just meant so much to her that was a very special memory for me.
And the best places to see bald eagles in the winter are down below the dam where the Corps of Engineers has an area, or on the beach where Teresa said the wide vista makes it easy to see them in flight for a long time. And the other great spot is watching them in their nest on Monument Island, which you can see from Lost Bridge East Recreation Area.
Our Lost Bridge East Recreation Area also, we tend to show people a nest there. That one happens to be on an island, so we feel like there's very little chance of people impacting the birds because it's so far out. There's still so many people that flock to our Eagle Watches. It's just still a thrill to everyone.
The view from Lost Bridge East was really pretty. There's a shelter there that would be perfect for events or peaceful bird watching. The winter bald eagle events are definitely going on my calendar for this year. Let's stay in the animal world a little longer, but focus on another personality the park loves to include: horse lovers. The horseback riding community at Salamonie is hardworking, humble, and define persistence. So if that's you, this is your place. Time to meet the property manager, Ronnie Heilman. By the way, if you haven't seen Ronnie State Park's song on the DNR Facebook page, I'll link that in the show notes. It's so fun.
My name is Ronnie Heilman. I'm property manager here at Salamonie Lake. I'm in my 40th year working for the DNR. Most of my time has been spent on reservoir properties. I did spend early in my career at Shade State Park, and I worked a couple years early for the Division of Soil Conservation, doing erosion control for farmers and landowners in Miami County. I worked at Miss Senewall for 20-some years as the assistant, and about 12 years ago, I transferred over here to Salamonie as the property manager. It was an opportunity for me to, I hope, make Salamonie better. I guess I'm a people person. I like to visit with people, and I'm a helper, I guess. I like to help people, and just kind of my nature. I don't mind hard work. I try to lead by example, and you can ask the staff if there's a water line that needs to be dug up. I'm probably the guy down in the hole digging.
Ronnie was so sincere and humble. He takes pride in Salamonie and doing his best to make it an exceptional place. One of the ways Ronnie has done that is at the Horseman's Campground. In the past, it was not electric, but was essentially primitive camping, which became challenging with the needs of transporting horses.
A couple things that I really feel good about once I got over here is, one was one of the big pushes. We've got a horse campground here, and it was a primitive campground for many, many years. And when I first got over here, the people who use our horse campground, they said, Ronnie, we want to get electricity in this thing. It took a while, but this last year we was able to put in about 25 electric sites.
Who were those people? Let's hear from Steve Park again, our Friends Group leader.
Those people in the Horseman Campground community, they have specific needs. Salamonie, if you include Salamonie State Forest, is only second to the number of horse miles behind Brown County. We have a lot of opportunities for people who own horses and like to trail ride. They can go for miles and miles and miles. A couple of our members are avid horse people, and they made it their goal to run electricity out there and power all of those sites. And so it's been a multi-year process, but we have power out there now. Rex and Laura Whiteleather have been kind of the two individuals who have really pushed that and really promoted that and done a lot of the fundraising for that. Kudos to Rex and Laura for kind of being the, every good project has humble people that just like get stuff done, and that's Rex and Laura.
This was a hundreds of thousands of dollars project, but the Friends Group was part of making that happen. With 12 miles of one-way trails at the park that connect with over 15 miles of trails at Salamonie State Forest, it's easy to see why this place is loved by horses and their riders. From horse lovers to our next personality, the Trailheads. This is the person who likes to wander the woods, feels most at home surrounded by trees, and loves a meandering path, whether on their own 2 feet or 2 wheels. Salamonie has you covered. But also, when you consider the quantity of trails, extend the staff a little grace after a storm. Here's Ronnie again.
I think our trail system is one of the top-notch in the country because of our variety. We've got a mountain bike trail, we've got a snowmobile trail, the only one in the state, I'm proud to say. We've got horse trails, we got a backpack camp trail, and just the regular nature hike trails that anywhere ranging from a mile long to 14 miles. Along with that, there's a lot of maintenance. That's the biggest issue that we have with having a great trail system is fixing wet areas and getting the machinery back where we need it. And every time, 80% of it's all set in the woods. And every time we have a windstorm, we'll have to take 4 to 6 people out just to clear a trail. That's the challenge, but we've always seemed to succeed in getting it open.
You could always join the Friends of Salamonie volunteer group and help with some trail maintenance too. More on that later. I asked Steve from the Friends group what his favorite trails are.
If I had younger kids, there's a really cool trail right behind the interpretive center. The kids read a story as they go along. So about every 50 feet or so is a page in the book. By the end of the 3/4 mile hike, the kids will have read an entire book, and then they come into the interpretive center, and then they get a little prize if they're able to answer a question about the book.
This summer, the Nature Center is open Thursday through Saturday from noon to 4. Another trail Steve mentioned was my favorite one to hike.
As an educator, I always encourage people to do the tree trail because the tree trail actually takes you on a little voyage through, I think it's like a mile and a half walk through an area that has the trees marked.
This trail really helped me identify the trees I was seeing. It loops around and you also get a nice view of the lake. Finally, the park's most epic hike, the Bloodroot Trail.
One of my favorites, of course, is the Bloodroot Trail. But one of the reasons that's my favorite, because that was one of the first ones that I hiked with my son on an overnight, because there are some primitive campsites out on the lake about halfway.
Depending on the offshoots you hike, the Bloodroot Trail is 11 to 13 miles round trip. And while categorized as moderate, it's been used for people prepping for the Appalachian Trail, so they can get their camping plan figured out.
On the Bloodroot Trail, there is 6 currently backpack sites that you can hike in and camp, and we're in the process of maybe adding 4 to 6 more sites, trying to get that done. It really exploded in popularity after COVID.
The Bloodroot Trail is also multi-purpose. It's a great starter mountain bike trail, and it's also the home of the snowmobile trail in the winter, if they have enough snow. They need a minimum of 4 inches of packed snow to open up the horse trails and Bloodroot for snowmobiling, so call before you go to check on that. Let's also give a quick shout out to the next personality, the Happy Camper. In addition to the Horseman's Campground, for those camping sans horse, there are 245 electric campsites, 2 dump stations, 4 comfort stations, 7 youth tent areas in their own sectioned off spot, and 38 sites in the Apple Orchard primitive camping area. Ronnie takes great pride in the campground as well.
We've got some of the best campsites, I think. We've got several sites that overlook the lake, and you can pull your boat right up really close to your campsite. Beautiful views, and I'd put them up against any campsite in the state.
Speaking of the water, let's talk about the lake, because some of you are the personality type I'm calling the water babies. You're all about relaxation, fun, sun, and of course, that lake life. But there's one thing you have to remember.
It's a flood control reservoir. That's why it was built back in the 60s. And that's number one rule is flood control, and secondary is recreation. I really enjoy the variety. I love being around the water, but being a flood control reservoir, you do get too much water sometimes, and it's a challenge.
The reservoir properties report to Indiana DNR, but the land is technically being leased from the U.S. Corps of Army Engineers, aka the federal government.
We kind of got 2 bosses. We got like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We have to kind of get their approval, and because they're the owners of the land and we are the renters, having a good working relationship with them is the key, in my opinion.
The Army Corps made these reservoirs to protect cities like Peru from constant flooding. They consider rain, reservoir levels, the level of the Wabash River, how releasing water will affect farms, fields, and communities downstream. So if the water levels are high, it's not the park's fault. It's an intentional strategy throughout the entire state. And that means sometimes the beach is closed, like it was when I visited. Sometimes it has disappeared entirely. Again, extend some grace and call ahead or look online if you want to make sure you can get in the water. At Salamonie, the Pirates Cove Marina is a place to go for boats. Let's meet one of the owners.
Randy and Debbie Yarger, and we own Pirates Cove Marina. This is our 23rd year owning Pirates Cove.
Randy and Debbie were teenage sweethearts.
Randy and I have been together since we were 16. We got our first boat when we were 17, so we've been boating all of our lives. Then, like in 95, 96, we bought our first little houseboat when our kids were really little, and so had been here all that time. And then when the opportunity to buy this came up, we made the decision that this would be a good job.
And they've lived through all sorts of water levels and circumstances.
It's a little nerve-wracking. We have a lot of faith in God, honestly, because you never know from year to year. We have been drought 2 years since we've owned it, 23 years, but we've also been 40 feet higher than this, and several floods in between different sizes and stuff. So honestly, we really do depend on God because, you never know what you're going to get.
Thankfully, so far this year, there's plenty of water, which makes for fun on the lake.
We offer a lot of fun things to do. We offer boat rentals, pontoons, all the way up to the party barges. We have paddle boats, we have kayaks. So yeah, the party barges, one will hold 15 people, one will hold 20. We've had bridal showers on there, bachelor parties on there. Our son actually got married on one of them just because it was kind of a fun thing to do. You don't have to have a boater license or anything, just a regular driver's license. Sometimes you find out people have been driving a boat all their lives and they still don't know how to drive a boat. So no boater experience per se, but we do joke that when you start driving one of the party barges, it's like driving a semi on ice, but I don't think it's quite that bad.
In addition to the party barges, paddle boats, and pontoons, you can also rent dock space.
We rent docks. We have a lot of seasonal docks. Most of them are full this year. We're very blessed. We also rent courtesy docks, so like transient docks, so people want to come for the weekend and leave their boat in. We have docks for that available also.
The Pirates Cove Marina functions as a mini camp store with food, drinks, and basics for camping. Oh, and make sure you get the new shirt. Each year there's a different design. From the water back to the land, it's time to celebrate the gardeners. These are people who love plants, flowers, and can spot the invasive hiding in a patch of natives. Let's go back to Justin, the wildlife biologist. His wildlife interest has always been ground nesting grassland birds, but he pointed out the importance of plants to support the wildlife flourishing.
In addition, I'm also pretty hobbyist enthused in plants. In school, I didn't really think about plants that much. You're mostly focused on the animals and the wildlife, but as you get into the field, you realize just how important the plants are, and most of the time, the work we're doing out here isn't directly managing the wildlife themselves, it's an indirect management of their habitat. So I've gotten very interested in plants, again, specifically like grassland, forbs, and grasses. One of the reasons I like Salamonie specifically, it's kind of a unique ecosystem for this part of northern Indiana. Because of the Wabash and the way the glaciation happened in the past, there's actually a lot of unique topography here, as well as some plant species and communities. Specifically speaking, we have a lot of early successional grassland type habitats and things that aren't super common in northeastern Indiana.
Early successional plants include things like grasses, shrubs, and flowers. I thought at first it meant early, as in early in the year. But early succession has more to do with what grows first after the existing land and vegetation have been disturbed, like from a fire or major soil disruptance. Early successional plants create more diversity within wildlife and plant populations. They also benefit pollinators. Justin explains more.
It's kind of like the stage between just bare ground and a forest. There's a lot of wildlife that specifically need early successionals. That kind of has been a big focus of our management strategy to maintain those.
About 10% of the property is early successional habitat. Justin shared the reason that's part of the park's focus is because many species that need early successionals are in decline.
Grassland birds are probably the best example. They've dropped 53% since the 70s, whereas as a whole, birds have only dropped about 30%, so they make by far the biggest decline.
That includes birds like bobolink, eastern meadowlark, indigo bunting, and even north bobwhite quail. The park also has more oak and hickory forests, which are unique in the northern part of the state, so they do their best to preserve those. Maintaining, preserving, and restoring are all efforts that take time to develop. The gardener personality has to be okay with delayed gratification, but when the harvest or flowering finally happens, you realize it was worth the wait.
Honestly, one of the interesting but also difficult things with wildlife management is a lot of the projects we do are not a short term. It's a very long term project. And so with this pollinator planting we might look at, there's some species that we planted about 3 years ago now, I think, that still haven't even bloomed because they might take 6 years to bloom after a restoration event. So it takes a very long term view for some of our projects. And that's pretty different from a recreation where you can install a disc golf course in a year and people are using it. Some restoration work on the environment and might not see the use for several years.
To see the success of one restoration project, Teresa, Justin, and I drove over to Lost Bridge East. It was like a real-life how-to manual for creating your own native wildflower field from nothing.
Yeah, historically it was a second campground for camping, and now we use it kind of as our... It's a great area for disabled hunters to use since the roads are still paved, but also anyone, mobility issues, it'd be great for wildlife viewing and things. Teresa actually had a private individual come that wanted to donate some money to restore this, and we're always interested in doing more restoration projects when the funding's there. We spent the first 2 years were kind of the prep work. Basically, we came in, mowed everything down real short, used herbicide to get rid of the old non-native vegetation, and then that winter we came in and actually spread the seed using another volunteer group. Then that first year we just kind of kept it mowed to keep some of the annual weeds down, and this has basically been it since.
The pollinator field was beautiful, peaceful, calming. I was ready to set up a camp chair and doze off to the buzzing of bumblebees, the whisper of branch and stem. I could feel my shoulders relax and my breathing slow. A lot of people would like to create a pollinator garden at their home. So when it was time to plant, how did the Salamonie staff pick which wildflowers to include?
When we planted this, we planted about 50 species, so a very high diversity since this was predominantly for pollinators. And so kind of the purpley, pink, white are foxglove. The blue flower is spiderwort. I believe there's some mountain mint.
Teresa also spotted cut plant, and I saw coreopsis. If you're interested in starting pollinator and native gardens, seed a variety of native flowers and be patient.
And I really haven't tried to control which species are doing well, and it's been fascinating to watch. Justin was talking about it takes a different length of time for some than others. So what was very happy last summer is not the species that I'm seeing predominantly down there this summer. So it's fascinating to watch.
Yeah, as an example of that, in this field, the first year we planted it, pretty much the only thing that you saw was black-eyed Susans. It was just a sea of black-eyed Susans, and now they're still out there, but obviously everything else has gotten a foothold.
Hearing this encouraged me and confirmed my own experiences, because I have a flower bed I've tried to convert to natives, and some of the flowers really didn't take off the first year, but this summer I spotted a milkweed flowering that didn't before, so hopefully next year I'll see even more diversity. Justin also gave a great tip that I did not do and has me rethinking that bed even more.
In that first planting, we didn't actually plant any grasses. We just went with a pure wildflower mix. We'll probably will establish some grasses. We found in our restoration work that if you can establish the wildflower, they're a little bit harder to establish than the native grasses. And so in an area like this that you want that really high diversity pollinator mix, we've had good luck doing the wildflowers first.
There are several native pollinator gardens throughout the park. Teresa uses the beds near the Nature Center as a living experiment and lets them grow on their own. The park uses controlled fire, mowing, and soil disturbance to mimic the natural processes the fields would have gone through as much as possible. Their goal is to continually eliminate invasives and promote native flowers. They'd love to expand their pollinator fields if you'd like to support that work.
That's one disadvantage with native pollinator habitat. It can be expensive on a large scale, so sometimes you have to do it in sections and chunks, and anytime we get volunteers, donations, those help a long way in doing some of these high-quality restoration jobs.
Be sure to swing by Lost Bridge East and take a picnic basket with you. All right, time for another personality that's represented at Salamonie, the hunters and fishers. While reservoirs like Monroe Lake focus on waterfowl for their hunters, it's the park's early successional plant focus that provides an environment ideal for quail and eastern cottontail rabbits, as well as deer and other animals. I'm not a hunter or fisherwoman, so from the outside, people who are strike me as patient, quiet, the type of person to incorporate tradition into their lives. And as I've learned, hunters and fishers are a helpful part of preserving an ecosystem. I wanted to ask Justin the question a lot of people do. Does hunting still have a place today?
So every ecosystem has kind of a delicate balance. There's a concept in biology known as the carrying capacity, and that's basically the amount of animals in a population that can be supported by that specific habitat. And deer are probably the best example of this. If you get overpopulated numbers of deer, they just decimate the habitat by eating everything, and then maybe that helps the deer in the short term because their population goes crazy, but then over time they run out of food, and then they start getting more disease because they're interacting with each other more, and their just overall body conditions weaker, so they're more susceptible to disease. And then at that point, basically the populations can crash entirely, and then you have to start all over. We can definitely use hunting, especially deer hunting. I mean, that's the big one. But we also have some regulated trapping on the property. And again, like you mentioned, raccoons is a big one, but also beaver and muskrat, because they can play a significant role in damaging the function of our wetlands. Hunting's definitely it serves a cultural purpose of, even though it's declining, there is still a group of dedicated hunters, and we're always trying to activate and create new hunters as well. But then there's also the long-term wildlife management impacts for the habitat.
So in addition to providing food, getting people outside, and just pure enjoyment, hunting and fishing are valuable parts of maintaining balance. Justin said quail hunting is popular at Salamonie, but there's one animal that's hunted most there.
Salamonie, I think we're probably one of the most hunted property for rabbits per acre of our property.
Some of those hunts are definitely tapping into an old tradition. Here's Ronnie.
Being a reservoir, we allow hunting, which is a wonderful opportunity, and that brings a lot of people in. And we're kind of a place known for people to have beagle hunts, which is pretty cool, and we get a lot of people coming out for that.
Ronnie mentioned beagles, but I didn't think about my follow-up question until I was talking to Justin. What are people using beagles to hunt? And if it's rabbits, does that mean I need to get one in my house to get rid of the rabbits from my backyard that are eating all my plants?
Yeah. But yes, they use their dogs to track rabbits, basically. And Salamonie has, I think, probably the most active dog running organizations in the surrounding communities. And they use our property for their events, to train their dogs.
In addition to hunting quail, rabbits, and deer, there are also wild turkeys on the property. The park successfully reintroduced them in the late 80s.
But since that reintroduction, the population has done so well that we actually have an active hunting, season. The population's very sustainable. It's spread out to the surrounding, any kind of surrounding habitat. It's really cool to see that kind of a species expand.
If you prefer your dinner comes from the water, Justin shared about the fish that you're most likely to catch.
The big draw almost constantly is crappie. I mean, Salamonie is known for crappie. We have a small contingent of dedicated bass hunters as well. And then down just after the dam in the tailwaters region, walleye seem to do pretty well down there. So those are kind of the three in the reservoir itself.
This is where I want to pause to sing Teresa's praises. The water was up really high when I visited, and we drove to a boat ramp and saw a man who looked like he was giving up on fishing. Teresa called to him through her truck window and asked how the fishing was going. He was discouraged and disappointed that he'd driven all the way over from Ohio and hadn't caught anything yet. Mostly he was frustrated that the water was so high he could barely find a dock above water to stand on to even try to fish. Teresa grabbed a map and showed the man a better fishing spot in the campground and how he could access it. Within moments, his entire demeanor changed. He was hopeful, thankful, smiling, and ready to get at it again. Teresa's calm and helpful comments were all it took. Our last personality is the Frolfer. That's right, a frisbee golfer. If you're a disc golf enthusiast looking for a new course to try, or someone like me who is just now learning that the terms albatross and turkey aren't exclusive to the Audubon Society, you'll find a lot to love about the disc golf course at Salamonie. Here's Ronnie.
We had a course over at Mississinawa, and it was one of the first courses put in, and I was actually working there when we was able to install that, and I saw the popularity of it. And then about 7 or 8 years ago, Mississinawa got new baskets, and I gladly took their old ones, and I put a little 9-course hole in. It wasn't really difficult, but it was a nice little hour-long activities a family could do. The last 2 years, I believe, we added another 17 holes to make it more challenging, to make it a kind of maybe a destination for people to come and play, which they are starting to do. So now we've got some really long bombers, is what the guys that play all the time, 300 and 400 yards.
The park, with support from the Friends Group, has invested in updating and maintaining the course, including improving the tee-offs.
So now all the tee-off pads are concrete, they're all the same. And we are currently going to upgrade those 9 original baskets to make them all match. And that order's been placed, and we're hoping to have those baskets come in.
Ronnie has some big ideas for the disc golf course, including a battle of the dams.
We're hoping to have a big tournament, sometime, have a sponsorship, and maybe have a battle of the dams between us and Mississinawa.
If that's something you want to help organize, reach out to Ronnie or Steve to get involved. I'm horrible at throwing a frisbee, but anytime I can get involved in some good old trash talking for a low-stakes competition, I'm in. Maybe I should add disc golf to my list of must-learn skills. Okay, I said that was the last personality type, but really there's one more, and no park or reservoir can function without them. The volunteer. This is the person who works hard, steps up, uses whatever skills they have to make a difference, all without needing praise or recognition. But my goal is to make sure they get a little of that honor, because our parks aren't the same without volunteers. Salamonie wouldn't have raised as much money to reintroduce otters without volunteers. It wouldn't have all the nature center features, a raptor center, a pollinator field, electricity in the campground, or updated disc golf tees without the Friends of Salamonie or the Friends of Upper Wabash Interpretive Services. Basically, the park wouldn't be the same. Salamonie is unique because of how their Friends group is structured.
Most Friends groups support a property. The Friends of the Upper Wabash Interpretive Services, we support primarily educational programming and anything that's culturally significant to both Mississinawa and Salamonie. One of our main goals is to get people in the property and then educate them about what that property has to offer.
Steve acknowledged that the Friends of Upper Wabash spends more time at Salamonie due to the Raptor Center work, but they sponsor programming and activities at both parks. There's a link to their Facebook page in the show notes, so you can volunteer at or attend any of their events, like the Tree Trail Trot at Salamonie, a 5K on August 23rd, or look for a native plant sale at Mississinawa next spring. How do you know if you're a volunteer personality? Just think about your favorite state park and ask yourself these questions.
How can I help out this? This is my favorite park. I have so many memories here. How can I help out? What can I do? And just about every state property has a friends group that is active and will always accept new members. We've met a lot of individuals who just have a huge heart for state properties and for getting people outdoors. I would do it all over again because it's been such a rewarding opportunity.
Academic, zoologist, horse lover, trailhead, happy camper, water baby, gardener, hunter and fisher, frolfer, volunteer. You're all welcome here.
Come see us. I'm proud of the fact that our staff is friendly. When a customer comes through the gate, they're going to be greeted with kindness and with information about our property, and they can come in here and camp with us and bring their kids and bring their bicycles and have a safe, enjoyable experience at Salamonie Lake.
The park is big enough that you'll find there's room for every personality and interest at Salamonie Lake. A big thank you to Randy and Debbie Yarger from Pirates Cove Marina, Steve Park from the Friends of Upper Wabash Interpretive Services, and the Friends of Salamonie Lake, and most of all, to Ronnie Heilman, Justin Emmons, and Teresa Rohde from Salamonie Lake for sharing their time and knowledge with me. In the Parks is not officially associated with Indiana DNR, but I'm so grateful for all the incredible work they do for our parks. Please share this podcast with your friends, and if you could, leave it a positive review on your favorite podcast platform. You can follow along on Instagram and Facebook at In the Parks Online. You'll find more state parks content and my recommendations for the best places to get ice cream near each park. Except for Salamonie and Mississinawa. For some reason I didn't stop anywhere in Peru or Huntington, even though they're both close by. So I need you to send me your recommendations for where to go. And I'll stop by when I visit Salamonie for an eagle watch this winter. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you in the parks.